Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about the latest episode of The Boys. It was called The Insider, and as it starts, at a rehearsal for the Avenue V Christmas special, an A-Train Muppet goes on an anti-Antifa rant set to music with very McCarthy-esque lyrics, approved by Homelander. Homelander soon confronts Sage on messing up the leak thing and vows to find the leak with Firecracker. The Deep gets funky with his Lady Octopus on his bed but leaves her when he gets an invite from Sage to get funky with her. Starlight talks with her mom and catches hell for the abortion before learning that Huey saved her suit from the trash, which she's not happy about, at which point Huey tosses it again. Butcher comes clean about having taken the virus guy and how he abandoned the super strong virus plan as it would cause a genocide, but got Frenchie out of jail to help make the less potent virus for use on Homelander and the VP only. Ryan opens a Christmas gift early, and it's a picture of himself, Butcher, and Becca. Mother's Milk puts Butcher back in charge of the boys in the wake of his passing out on the last mission before sending his wife and kid to Belize to keep them safe. A-Train tells Ashley that Homelander and everyone knows that Cameron wasn't the leak, as she's clearly upset about Cameron's death, and urges A-Train to go to Florence with her to hide, but he tells her to get her shit together before tailing Butcher, who's struggling with his vision of Joe, who wonders why Butcher won't kill all the soups, saying he's gone soft, before Butcher, Starlight, and Huey infiltrate an apartment looking for a would-be presidential assassin, where they find some Secret Service files and a woman in a closet who feigns having been a prisoner before making a run for it while shapeshifting into another person and getting away. A-Train visits Mother's Milk and tells him that his family escaping to Belize won't stop the soups from coming for them. Frenchie goes to help the scientists with the virus, and Homelander calls Ryan and leaves a message asking him to just do the puppet show on a voicemail, despite having told him before that he wouldn't manipulate him into doing what he wants him to do. Homelander and Firecracker then interrogate an uncontrollably web-shooting web weaver who tells them about how he often gives info to Butcher, after which Homelander literally rips him in half vertically. Kimiko confronts Frenchie about not wanting to see her while he was in prison and not going to her for help with his guilt, and she tells him the real reason she doesn't speak, which is that when she was a kid she was forced to kill fellow imprisoned child soldiers, and that she now hates herself for not refusing even if it meant her own death. Deep's octopus confronts him about his trysts with Sage, saying that she's using him, and he leaves her without water as she begs for help, and he lets her die before going to see Homelander, who sends him on an unknown mission. I was a little confused here because earlier in the episode, the octopus was hanging out with Deep on his bed, and he said, you know, you can only survive outside of water for so long, but it's clearly more than like a few seconds. So I didn't understand why all of a sudden she's gasping for air or gasping to breathe the second he took her out of water. Anyway, Huey confronts Victoria about the plan to kill the president, but she doesn't listen. Deep shows up at the boys' HQ to kill Butcher with Black Noir in tow and starts a fight with Starlight as Noir goes for Butcher, who seems to learn that Noir is narcoleptic after shooting him a bunch of times with handguns. A-Train and Mother's Milk show up, and Deep gets his ass kicked by A-Train and Starlight, while Mother's Milk shoots a now once again awake Noir, who reveals that he can speak and fly with a Gatling gun, sending him out a window. A-Train tells Ashley he's been exposed, and she tells him to remove his chip and run. Mother's Milk tells his wife he can't join them in Belize just yet. Homelander is saddened to learn that A-Train was the leak, and Sage admits knowing that A-Train was the leak. So Homelander dismisses her from the Seven, and she says it's fine, but there's one person he'll never defeat, before causing Noir to reveal that he's been sleeping with her as well in front of Deep, but without the lobotomy part. Virus Guy injects Kimiko with the virus before escaping, and Frenchie has to remove her leg to save her, leaving the gang with just the leg to get the virus from. Ryan gets Homelander's message and is displeased before doing the live puppet Christmas special with Homelander, Firecracker, and Deep puppets, but cuts it short and contradicts and actually calls out the shitty message that the song they were singing is giving with all the McCarthy-like lyrics in memory of his mother, whom he knows wouldn't approve of it, as Homelander and Butcher both watch from different locations having opposite reactions. Starlight seemingly puts on her costume for Huey before getting it on with him in the costume, After which she goes into a safe to get a gun, as we see that Starlight was actually kidnapped by the shapeshifter earlier in the events of the episode and replaced by her. And that's where the episode ended. So I really liked this episode. I'm glad in these last couple of episodes they got away from spending so much time with the hand-wringing on behalf of Huey and his mother over the situation with his father. I like where they went with that. It was a cool moment when, Huey had to kill his own father after his father went wild and like killed a bunch of people with uncontrollable super speed unintentionally. And all of that, but like the lead up to it just took so long, and it's great for his character development, but it just took away from the overall story of, okay, there's some shit going down. Homelander's trying to kill the president. They have to stop Homelander. They have to try to get Ryan away from Homelander. Those plot elements I thought were more important. And they spent so much time on that thing with Huey, and they spent even a little more time than I would have liked on Frenchie and his boyfriend, and that whole thing is done now, thank goodness, because it didn't have anything to do with anything. I mean, I don't know. I guess you get to see, okay, Frenchie's distraught over how he killed Colin's family, but like, I don't know. It seemed like detours to me away from what was really, the crux of the episode, the Soups versus the boys. And they got to more of that last episode, but they got to it a lot this episode, and I thought this was a stronger episode than some of the previous ones had been, so I really liked it. I asked at the end of my review last week, are we ever going to see Starlight in the costume again, and we're ever going to see her use her powers? And we got to see her in her costume, sort of, but not really. So I was happy with that, though I wish, of course, it wasn't because she's being impersonated while she's being held captive. I wish that weren't happening. Homelander ripping Webweaver in half vertically just with his hands was crazy. So I really enjoyed seeing that. And that whole scene was kind of funny too, because Webweaver kept spewing web out of his butt uncontrollably because he was nervous. So that was gross, but awesome at the same time. The fight at the boys' HQ was pretty awesome. Seeing Starlight go crazy again and kicking ass was great. Mother's Milk whipping out the Gatling gun was pretty cool. So I liked all of that stuff. That was pretty awesome. So I thought it was a solid episode. There's only one more left in the season. I don't see how they're going to wrap all of this up. I don't think they're going to. I think they're only going to get to a certain point with it, and then we're getting a final season when the show comes back, presumably in 2026, if not late 2025. So that's really it. I'm going to get out of here for now. I'll be back to do a breakdown and review of the season finale once it's released. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.